The NTSB public docket has been released on the Hoppajet Bombardier Challenger 600 crash that occurred February of 2024 while on final approach to Naples runway 23. The NTSB final report has not yet been released at the time of this recording, but should be soon. And included in these hundreds of pages of data from the NTSB is a transcript of the cockpit voice recorder. And in reviewing this dashcam video, which we've looked at before, we can see that this pilot flew this aircraft all the way into the crash. But it was the impact with this sound barrier here on the freeway that killed the two pilots. The single flight attendant in the back of the aircraft was able to rescue the two passengers. So the flight attendant and the two passengers were able to survive this very fiery crash. And in this pilot transcript, we can see that these pilots had just 73 seconds to live. Just 73 seconds prior to touching down here on the freeway, 73 seconds earlier, this crew suffered a dual engine failure. And it was not caused by anything the pilots did. It was a purely mechanical failure of both engines. So what caused the dual engine failure? Investigators are leaning on the condition, corrosion, and rigging of the variable geometry inlet guide vanes into both engines. It'll take a whole separate video for me to explain this system, how it works, and the long Swiss cheese model of maintenance issues that affected this system and potentially caused this extremely rare dual engine failure. But right now I want to focus on this cockpit voice recorder transcription. We'll play some of the actual ATC audio tapes and show you again the flight path of the aircraft, just to show you how quickly this series of unfortunate events unfolded for this crew. This Hoppajet FAR Part 135 charter departed from Naples earlier in the day, flew up to Ohio State University, Columbus, Ohio, where they attended a ball game, the passengers. The aircraft was serviced with 350 gallons of fuel and then flew back to Naples, and the accident occurred while on final approach, a visual approach for the runway at Naples. Here's the overlay of the GPS tracks in the NTSB report, with the aircraft coming in for a visual approach. I believe they were making room for a departing aircraft before coming on into land on runway 23 here at Naples, and the accident occurred as the crew attempted to do the forced landing here on Highway 75, just short of this golf course. Up until this point, right about here, everything was operating perfectly normal. There was no sign of any trouble with this flight right up until the last 73 seconds of the flight. And the weather for the landing was good. Your standard warning about the use of cockpit voice recorders from the NTSB that conclusions or interpretations should not be made using the summary of this transcript as the sole source of information. This is only a tiny piece of the investigation. In the left seat of the aircraft is a 50-year-old ATP-rated captain with 10,525 hours of total flight time. And in the right seat is a 65-year-old first officer with 24,618 hours of total flight time. 65, and with these type ratings, indicates to me that he has recently retired from the airlines and is picking up this job as a second job after his mandatory age 65 retirement from the airlines. It is presumed from the transcript, and it'll be spelled out in the final report exactly who was flying the aircraft at the time of the accident, but it looks to me that the captain, the 50-year-old captain in the left seat, was the pilot flying, and the 65-year-old first officer in the right seat was the pilot monitoring. When reading the transcript, you got to understand the legend. CAM is the cockpit area microphone, and the location is numbered. Number 1 would be on the captain's side, number 2 on the first officer's side, number 3 on the flight attendant's end of the aircraft. HOT is the audio panel input from the pilot and co-pilot, and then the radio, RDO, Miami Center, Fort Myers approach, Tower, ATIS, other aircraft, and then EGIPWIS, or the Enhanced Ground Proximity Warning System, going off automatically. An asterisk means an unintelligible word, and the pound sign means an expletive, and a ampersand means a non-pertinent word. Parentheses, a questionable insertion, and brackets indicate an editorial insertion. The touchdown on the freeway is at 15:10:45. Impact with the wall 1 second later. This transcript begins at 14:41:41. We'll pick up this transcript here at 15:08:31, which will put the aircraft in about this position right here, where we hear first this ATC transmission.
Papa Jet 823 is with you on a right downwind for a 5-mile final, runway 23.
Papa Jet 823, roger, make the right turn back towards the airport, at least one departure ahead, Challenger Jet, runway 23, clear to land, wind 22012, gust 16.
All right, Challenger Jet departing, we're turning back towards the airport and clear to land, runway 23, Papa Jet 823.
So that's the first officer in the right seat making those radio calls on radio 2. Everything up to this point, just 2 minutes prior to impact, is operating perfectly normal from the pilot's perspective. The captain says, cleared to land. First officer responds, yep. Sounds of some clicks. Captain, I have the runway. Co-pilot, got the runway. Alrighty, ignition. Cabin advise. These are all the first officer's calls. We want to play it. Oh, it's already done. You got it going? And I believe that's regarding the seatbelt signs. The area mic, sound similar to decreasing engine RPM. Captain, no, I didn't play it. Play it. Okay, sounds similar to a cavalry charge tone consistent with autopilot disconnect. When you disconnect the autopilot, it gives you quite a loud tone to it. Captain calls for landing flaps. Area mic picks up the seatbelt sound in the cabin. Passengers fasten your seatbelt sort of chime. Co-pilot, all right. Captain, landing flaps. The area mic picks up continuing and decreasing engine RPM. Co-pilot, and landing flaps. Area mic, sound of a click. Captain, thank you. Co-pilot, all right. Co-pilot, landing gear lever down indicating. Area mic, engine noise continuing to decrease. I mean, I know they're coming in for idle for the landing, but I believe these engines are going well below idle. Co-pilot, 3 green. Area mic, sound of triple chime consistent with a master warning. Co-pilot, what the hell's that? Oh, right engine just quit. Area mic, sound of a tone consistent with the altitude alert. Co-pilot, looks like. Area mic, sound of a triple chime consistent with a master warning. What the heck? That was the co-pilot. The captain, it's overtemp. Co-pilot, say again. Captain, overtemp. Co-pilot, overtemp. Expletive, all right, by the co-pilot. Co-pilot, all right. Sounds of breathing from the captain. Co-pilot, no engines, huh? Co-pilot, okay, we're going to have to land. Captain, declare run an emergency. Co-pilot, I am.
X-ray 574, runway 23, turn right heading 270, clear for takeoff, traffic 3-mile final, Challenger Jet.
X-ray 574. Okay, Challenger, Papa Jet 823, lost both engines, emergency. I'm making an emergency landing.
Drivers, got the emergency, clear to land, runway 23. Is that Papa Jet 823?
We're clear to land, but we're not going to make the runway. We've lost both engines.
So in between those radio transmissions, there's a discussion between the co-pilot says, there's some water right there. And the altitude alert goes off again, and the co-pilot says, there's water right there. I'm not sure exactly what water he's referring to. We'd have to take a closer look here on the Google map. Area mic 3, this is the flight attendant. Should I prepare the cabin? Should I prepare the cabin? Captain, brace for impact. Co-pilot, okay, hey, let me take over and land in this water. So the first officer is seeing a water feature off to his right that he's tempted to make a bid for, but the captain's flying the aircraft. Captain says, negative, I'm landing right here. Cockpit area mic, sound consistent with the stick shaker. He is bringing it in as slowly as possible, right on the ragged edge of a stall. Co-pilot, where? Straight ahead on the runway. We're not going to make the runway, says the co-pilot. Sound of a rattle similar to the jump seat adjustment. Well, that's probably the flight attendant getting strapped into her jump seat. Sound of a latch or a switch. Egypt was sink rate. Heavy breathing. Not the runway, says the captain. 500. First officer, no, sink rate. No, the road's got traffic, man. That's the first officer. Sounds consistent with heavy breathing from the captain. Co-pilot, it's too late for the... Okay. Egypt was too low terrain. Co-pilot, land in the grass. Sink rate. Sink, terrain. Area mic 2, 110 knots. Excellent call out by the first officer. Maintain that airspeed, the most important job. Help the captain maintain that airspeed awareness. Egypt was pull up. Sound consistent with the stick shaker. So he's got it right into the stall now and into the stick shaker. Co-pilot, this damn airplane. Pull up, consistent with the stick shaker. Co-pilot, land in the grass. Area mic, sound clacking consistent with continuous stick shaker. And that's a kind of noise. Egypt was pull up, sound clacking consistent with continuous stick shaker. Stall warbler, stick pusher. So they pull it all the way into the stick pusher. Area mic 3, brace. That is the flight attendant saving the lives of those passengers by giving him the brace command. Egypt was still going off, pull up. Area mic 2, all right. Sound consistent with touchdown, impact, and the Egypt was still going off, and then it's the end of the entire transcript at 15:10:49. Just 73 seconds to live. In an interview with the flight attendant who survived and got the two passengers safely out of the aircraft, she said that prior to landing, she relocated from the passenger cabin to her jump seat. And that's what we heard in the transcript on the area mic. Standard procedure for Hoppajet. The cabin attendant first recognized there was a malfunction when she saw red writing on the screens in the cockpit. She overheard one of the pilots say, "We were in an emergency." She then heard, "We lost both engines," plural, and she made that clear to the investigators on her initial interview from the hospital. She then asked the pilots, "Should I prepare the cabin?" and was told, "Brace for impact." There was no further communication between the pilots and the cabin attendant. The pilots were completely task-saturated. She then relocated from the cockpit jump seat to the cabin and took a seat on the forward bulkhead. She briefed the passengers, "We need to get in the brace positions." She then announced, "Brace, which we heard on the area mic on the transcript. And the aircraft impacted the ground. After the aircraft came to a stop, the cabin was rapidly filling with smoke, and she could see what she called neon flames. She unsuccessfully attempted to open the forward door and overwing emergency exit. She stated it was good that the overwing exit didn't open as there was a fire outside that window. She now realizes that the only viable exit is the passenger door. One of the passengers is already back there, possibly attempting to open the door. She instructs him to get out of my way. After struggling with the door, she finally successfully opened it. After a slight hesitation, the passengers follow her out, and she directs them that we need to get away from the aircraft. With the Naples airport located right here and Highway 75 located right here and the crash occurring right here along Highway 75, I presume that the first officer was referring to some of the water features off to the side surrounding these golf courses. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was this water feature located right here on the side of 75. So with just 73 seconds to live and by no action on behalf of the crew, this crew suffered a dual engine failure and flew it as best they could all the way into the crash with a completely full stalled landing right there on the freeway. There was one minor injury on the freeway, and of course the flight attendant was able to get the 2 passengers safely out of the aircraft. We'll cover why both engines failed in a second video. It's going to take a deep dive into the systems of the aircraft and the variable stator vanes and how they work and what they do, and the impact of corrosion and misrigging of these systems and the problems that can create. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. It takes a lot of time to pour over hundreds of pages of documents to get the pertinent information out to make these reports. Thank you for your support. See you here.